Hey guys, welcome to another video, and this is all about yesterday's video about the NIE ESTA. You guys did not really understand how these are processed and how to actually go ahead and get your F1 visa, or maybe travel without an F1 visa this time. How do students do that? All of that is in this video, the entire process. So just stick with me for the next 5 to 10 minutes and I'll ensure that you understand most of the doubts that you had from the last video. They will be clarified. I just need you to pay attention for the next couple of minutes. Okay, now these are the 5 questions that we're going to be answering, and you can see that these are most of the doubts that were posted below on that video in the comments section. So starting with the first doubt, what is the national interest exception? Okay, and why is it important to you? Well, let me actually tell you. To put things into context, you need to understand first that US actually banned travel from India because of the COVID scenario. India is not really doing well in terms of COVID, and that's why they said, look, we don't really want people coming from India to the US. It is not in our national interest, and our national interest is to protect our country, right, from COVID. So, well, while the ban is still in place, they have some national interest exceptions that, look, even though our national interest says that don't take in people from India, there are exceptions, and this has been updated on April 30th 2021. Recently they came out and they said, look, we already banned travel from Brazil, China, South Africa, Iran. We had a national interest exception over there for students and some other people also, but mainly for my channel I'm going to say for students. Okay, and now we're adding India to that list. Okay, we are applying the same set of rules for India so that students who really need to travel, who have to travel, their education should not stop, and at the same time universities should be getting funding as well. So for that, what we are doing is we are applying the NIE rules. India is one of the biggest countries in terms of the number of students that apply every single year to go to the United States, and that's why you can see something like this happening. Okay, now that brings me to question number 2, and that is, does having an NIE mean that you do not need an F1 visa? The answer is no. See, NIE is just going to protect you from this ban. Okay, it's going to tell you, look, even though the ban is in place, you have an NIE. That means you can basically travel. You don't have to be banned, or you don't have to be halted just because there's a ban, because you are an exception. Okay, and we understand that. But when it comes to the NIE, can you basically just use an NIE for an excuse for not having an F1 visa? No, that's not true. But you can use an ESTA. And the thing is, in my last video, let me actually show you this chart first off before actually clarifying the last video. You can see this chart. I want you to understand things first, and then I'll clarify the last video. Okay, so if you see in your country, if travel has been banned to the US, number one thing you need is an NIE. Okay, that's required because you need to be an exception to travel at this point. Number 2, with an NIE, you will still need either an F1 visa or an ESTA. Okay, either an F1 visa or an ESTA. Now, an ESTA is basically electronic system for travel authorization. It is given out to countries with the visa waiver program as of now, and India is not yet a part of that. Okay, you need to understand that. And I also mentioned this in yesterday's video over here, that look, this has not been updated yet. It's April 26, 2021. India was not even a part of the NIE until April 30th, 2021. They added it to the NIE list. And while India is not yet a part of the visa waiver program, but in case they try to reinforce that, they try to change things and enable ESTA for India, well, this will be updated. And right now it's not been updated. Okay, so India is not over here. And I mentioned this in my last video towards the end, and a lot of people did not watch it towards the end. So they were commenting that, look, you should have done your research. Things are not clear. You're telling me that ESTA is, I should use an ESTA, but I'm not eligible for it. Well, I actually mentioned that Indians are not eligible for it. And this channel does have an international audience. People from other countries also watch it. So that was the caveat that I mentioned in the last video. Please go ahead, watch it again if you haven't. Either way, either you need, if you're banned, in that case you need an NIE plus an F1 visa or an ESTA. So one of these two things, okay, with the NIE. Coming back to the chart, if your country does not have a ban, and a lot of people from Nepal, Bangladesh, other countries actually messaged me telling me that, look, we're not eligible for an NIE. What do we do? Our country is not listed over here. Well, you don't need to worry, because you don't need an NIE to begin with. You don't need to be an exception, because traveling from your country to the US is not banned, right? If travel is not banned, then you don't really have to have an NIE, because it doesn't really make sense, right? You don't need to be an exception to travel. You can be a regular person and you can travel, right? So with that, I hope you understand that NIE does not mean that you don't need an F1 visa, but yes, if your country is eligible for an ESTA, then with an NIE you can get that, and you don't need an F1 visa to travel. Okay, the only thing special about yesterday's video, and this is only for Indians, what I'm telling you is, because I think that Indian audience kind of misunderstood it a little bit, is that you will not be impacted by the travel ban because of the NIE. Okay, now coming to the third question, again, this is the same. My country is not in the NIE list. What do I do? Again, like I said, you don't really need to do anything. You don't need to be an exception. You can directly apply for the F1 visa. Fourth question, are Indians eligible for an ESTA? Again, like I mentioned over here, India is not really in the list as of now. They're not in the visa waiver program. If they change things, this will be updated. If they don't change things, well, in that case, you still have to get the F1 visa. The only thing is you won't be stopped just because you are not banned, because you're a student. You are not banned from traveling. You're an exception due to the NIE. Okay. And point number 5, how do I apply for an NIE? Well, actually, if you take a look at this page, it will tell you that you don't really need to do anything over here. In the case of F1 visas, there are other people who have to do some applications, who have to go through a process, but in your case, you don't really have to do much because you will automatically be considered for an NIE to travel. So with these answers, I hope that I've cleared your doubts in terms of what's the NIE, what's the ESTA, how do you travel to the US with or without an F1 visa, can you still travel, all of that should be clear in this video, right? If you still have some questions, mention them down below so that I can answer them in the next video. All right. If you still want to connect with me or work with me, you can go ahead. You can take a look at the YMGrad visa service. So you can take a look at this service. We are also working with applicants. The NIE also, everything has been included over here. And of course, if you want some more help or you just want some advice, you can connect with me on Instagram. You can connect with me on my YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe over here. And I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye and take care for now.